Hello everyone, it's Michael from ReplicaAirguns.com, and today we're looking at a bunch of 1911 air guns. Now most of these are steel BB shooters, so they shoot 4.5mm steel BB rounds, with the exception of the Umarex Government 1911 A1 over here. This one shoots pellets. I don't have any airsoft pistols on the table. We're primarily looking at BB and pellet shooters today. Now with the KWC guns over here, many of these guns shoot 6mm airsoft rounds, so a lot of them are available in very similar versions of airsoft guns. When it comes to the Japanese made, and these ones are distributed through different companies, but the Japanese steel BB pistols, as far as I know, they only shoot 4.5mm steel BBs. So we have KWC 1911s right here. We even have another one that I couldn't fit on from Umarex. I'll be bringing this in a bit. Then we have the Japanese ones here, which are distributed through SIG, and this one I believe is through Daisy. And then of course we have the Umarex pellet pistol. So today we're going to kind of point out what the best 1911 air gun is. Well, again, if you've watched any of my best whatever videos, you'll find that I kind of never really commit to one. I just kind of go over what I think is good about each one. But at the end of this video, I will tell you which one I feel is my favorite. Now, is it the best? I don't know. Maybe it's the best for me. So let's look at these Japanese ones over here, the Japanese built 1911s. What's good about them? Well, what's good about them is that they do actually have a little bit higher FPS compared to the KWC guns. You're going to get a little bit more CO2 usage, so a CO2 canister is going to go a little longer in these guns. So higher FPS, more CO2 efficiency. In terms of blowback action, they're actually pretty close, maybe a slightly lighter blowback action. In terms of functionality, very similar, right? These guns do have blowback action. The slide doesn't go back quite as far, right? So it does go back, but the catch is definitely not as far. This one doesn't have CO2, but you'll notice it is a single action only pistol. You do have your safety, right? You do have your slide catch release, all of that stuff, all that great stuff, right? Now you also have all metal construction, right? So very nice weighty gun, heavy metal slide, everything, right? You got your safety there. Now, what you will notice though on these guns is that they do have a stick mag. So a little bit more power, a little more CO2 efficiency, but you do have a stick mag. So that kind of is a little bit less realistic. They do have this really neat loading system. It's kind of like a lever that pushes the CO2 into it. You don't need any tools. That's kind of nice, right? Okay, so let's pop this one down. Now basically what we have is the SIG. This is the Max Michel, and then we also have the SIG Spartan, which is basically the exact same gun with just different cosmetics. Okay, all of the mechanical features, and basically the overall look is the same. Slightly different trigger, right? Basically slightly different trigger, and that's pretty much it. Now when you go and look at the Daisy gun, right, the Daisy Winchester, let's see if we can focus, model 11. The only thing different about this one is the back strap or the grip safety doesn't work on it, whereas with the SIG guns it does. So I think they've kind of been upgraded over time. But other than that, they use the same sort of cantilever system, right? They have single action triggers just like the real deal, right? Working safeties, all of that, you know, full blowback action, or mostly full blowback action. Not quite as full as the KWC, but blowback action, pretty heavy blowback, not bad. Now compare those to the KWC 1911s. Okay, now I'll just give you sort of a rundown. I say KWC, but a lot of these guns are distributed through other companies, like for instance the Tanfoglio Witness 1911, the Swiss Arms here. We've got two different versions of the Swiss Arms. They're through Cybergun. We also have this one here, which is the Colt Commander. It's made by KWC, right? So, I mean, literally you can mix and match parts with all these guns. All of the magazines and everything are interchangeable. I would imagine you could take slides off and move them around, and trigger groups, and you know, everything could be switched around if you wanted to. Let's see if we can focus here. This gun is actually distributed by Umarex. It's the Colt Commander, okay? But it is KWC. Now what's good about the KWC 1911s? Well, lots. I mean, they're fairly inexpensive for what you get. Again, they're all metal construction. Another really cool thing about them is you can literally put real grips on them. You can interchange the grips, put a real 1911 grip on here. You just have to Dremel a couple little of the spots out from the back where basically the CO2 is kind of coming into the grip a bit, and up in here I believe you need to Dremel it out just a little bit. But other than that, These guns, you know, you can put real 1911 or grips on them if you want to, which is nice. I don't believe you can do that with these guys. The other nice thing is that they have the full-size dropout metal magazines, right? That one's got CO2 in it, so I got to be a little careful. Notice the blowback action is full. The slide catch catches back in the full position. You know, nice, crisp, heavy slides. Very realistic guns. So let's just double check something. We're good, no BBs. I don't want to shoot my monitor out. I'm going to shoot a little high just in case. But I'm going to just give you guys an example of the blowback. Safety off. Right, very cool. These guns are beautifully made. You know, you can get all different versions with all different configurations. Like this is basically your tactical version with the white dot sights, right? You know, you've got your tactical trigger, hammer, ambidextrous safeties, right? Very nice gun. Simulated wood grips, rail on it. And you compare that, for instance, to just a standard Tanfoglio Witness, which is your standard 1911A1, right? They all have working grip safeties, of course. Okay, but you'll notice this one. So we focus in here. Okay, same full slide catch release, but as with the normal 1911A1, it just has the one-sided safety, right? It's not tactical at all. It does have a working grip safety. Gotta pull that off. Okay, and again, full-size magazine, really nice, very, very realistic guns. Now the downside to the KWC guns is that they do use a lot of CO2. The blowback action is very heavy, so it uses up a lot of CO2, which also takes away from some of the power. You're going to get more power, getting close to 400 FPS with these guys versus oftentimes just over 300 with these guys, especially once the CO2's been used for a few rounds. Now moving on to the last guy here, we've got the Umarex Government 1911A1. This is a German-made pistol, a very high-quality pistol. I have reviewed pretty much all these guns, so you can watch those reviews. But this one's made in Germany. It's a wholly different system, so it uses a rotary magazine that you load pellets. It's 8 shots. Okay, so it is limited. The other ones will, I believe, hold at least, I think, 18 rounds or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but about 18 rounds. So you got 8 rounds in here of pellets. This gun does shoot in actually both double and single action, which is kind of neat. You need to have the double action because there's no blowback action, so you need to be able to pull that trigger back and work the action, right, fully and get actual double action. But if you want, you can shoot in single action as well. Very nice trigger. Working grip safety as well. Oh, no, sorry, I thought it was. I'm wrong. No working grip safety, but it does look like it works. It doesn't. So it has a different CO2 loading system. I'm trying to remember how to get this off. It's been a while. Which one comes off? There it is. Okay. So your CO2 goes in there, and you just tighten it up and then push that lever in. Okay, nice gun. You know, in terms of working parts, a lot less. Very heavy, all metal though, right? Power is pretty good. It is pumping out a lead pellet. I believe it's going to be up in the, 340 range with a lead pellet, maybe a little higher. I can't remember exactly what the FPS is of it, but it's going to be more efficient as well with CO2 because there's no blowback action. It is going to be more accurate. So, we have, to sum it up, we have the quality gun here. Doesn't have blowback action, doesn't have shoot as many rounds. It does shoot pellets, it is more accurate, probably the most powerful in terms of energy down range, but it's also very costly. This gun's going to set you back well over $200, close to $300, and I don't even think you can get it in this version, this silver or nickel version anymore. I think you can really only get it in the blued version, as far as I know. I could be wrong. Then you have the Japanese versions here, which are distributed through SIG and Daisy. And they have a little more CO2 efficiency, right? They shoot a little harder, but they lack the full-size dropout metal magazine, right? Which a lot of people are going for. And then you have your KWC camp over here, and many companies distribute them in their own name, like Cybergun, Gletscher, Umarex, just to name a few. A lot of companies are distributing the KWC version under their name, and they come in a myriad of different finishes and looks. But the reality is they're all made by KWC, and most of the parts should be interchangeable with all those guns. So which is the best? Well, they're all pretty good in my mind. They all have their cool points about them. I'm going to say that my absolute favorite 1911 at this point in time is going to be the Swiss Arms, and this is the 70s stainless pistol version. So this one here, what I like about it is I like the stainless finish on it. I like the simulated wood grips. You know, I like tactical guns, but I just love the 1911. I love the beauty of the original 1911. I don't think it needs all those bells and whistles. You know, it doesn't need an ambidextrous safety for me. I'm fine with the sights not necessarily having a white dot on them, or the tactical trigger, or even the rail. I wouldn't really use a rail anyways. I just like the smooth look of just a standard A1, right? Really nice, but I do like that this comes in the nickel sort of stainless finish, right? That just looks good. It's got sort of the I forget what they call that, but it's almost like this is like your stainless here, and then you have like a parkerized almost finish on the bottom here, right? So really nice. I do think this is a great pistol. This has got to be one of my favorite 1911s. But you know what? They're all really good. I would shoot any of them anytime, to be honest. They're all really fun. I really enjoyed shooting the SIG guns when I reviewed those guns, because, you know, having a little extra power is kind of nice. Being able to stretch out the CO2 usage is always nice. Once you get that, you know, that magazine in the gun, you kind of forget about it, that it's not a full-size dropout metal magazine, because the guns have great weight to them. They feel good in the hand. It's just when you're reloading, you kind of get reminded that it has the stick mag, and that's a bit of a letdown. But other than that, those are great. Coming back to the Umarex Colt Government 1911 A1, it's just such a beautifully made gun. You know, this is the type of gun that you'd buy and just keep in your collection just because it's a beautiful gun. You'd be able to shoot this gun for years. The quality is excellent. The accuracy is excellent. You know that this gun's going to be around for a long time. All right, thanks for watching my kind of update of these 1911s, talking about which is the best one. You know, I always jump around, tiptoe around that subject. But at the end of the day, again, they all have their great points. But I'm going to stick with the Swiss Arms 70s edition. Maybe I like that 70s thing, because I was born in '69 and grew up in the 70s. So maybe that's another reason why I like this one. All right, thanks for watching another Replica Airguns video. Don't forget to subscribe. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Username is Replica Airguns. Also come on down to replicairguns.com, where I have articles, post reviews. A lot of written articles and reviews for a lot of these guns. It's done in 1911s, kind of beaten them to death over the years, but they are really cool pistols. And if you're interested in purchasing one of these 1911 airguns, check out our Canada and US online airgun stores at replicairguns.ca and replicairguns.com. Alright, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.